There's a very comforting myth about college. It goes like this. Don't worry about the price. There's tons of scholarships out there. Colleges give scholarships, and beyond that, if you just apply to enough of them, the money will pour in. I understand why families want that to be true. College is expensive. The numbers are big. And the idea that there's free money waiting to be claimed is reassuring. But here's the reality. Scholarships are real. Some of the biggest ones come from colleges after you simply apply for admission. Others you need to apply to get them, and they're not easy. And they're not a strategy by themselves. Tonight, we're going to talk about what scholarships actually are and how to get them. Let's go.
It's the College Talk Show. Tonight's theme, scholarships. With special guest, Kathy Fine. And now, here's your host, Chris Bell.
My guest tonight is Kathy Fine. Kathy is an educational psychologist, a certified educational planner, and the founder of Fine Educational Solutions. She holds a PhD in educational psychology and has spent more than a decade helping students and families navigate college admissions and financial planning with clarity and honesty. Kathy, I'm really glad you're here tonight.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Happy to be here.
Great. Listen, you wrote, "No scholarships are not easy to come by." What are you seeing that made you open up with that?
Well, Chris, I got to start with saying that I'm really happy to hear that at least one person is reading what I write. That makes me feel really good. No, but in all seriousness, I opened with that because I have found that so many people think that there's just scholarships out there for the taking for anybody who applies. It's like they picture some big pot of money going to waste because nobody's asking for it. But the reality is, as you well know, is that many scholarships are need-based or merit-based. And what that means is that the average person is not likely going to be a great fit for most scholarships. Some colleges, notably the most difficult to get in, are extremely generous with need-based aid. So, for example, the highest performing students that I work with through my nonprofit attend colleges like Yale, Chapel Hill, and Haverford at no cost to them.
So you're drawing a distinction, which of course I think is appropriate, between need-based and merit-based. What is a scholarship then? I mean, is that aid or is that something else? And then there's this concept of qualified. What is that?
Bottom line, a scholarship is any amount of money given to a student which they don't have to pay back to offset the cost of going to college. So, for example, a scholarship could cover tuition, it could cover books and fees, room and board. Sometimes it even covers travel expenses. A qualified scholarship is one that a student is eligible for based on specific personal attributes or circumstances. So, for example, outstanding academic achievement, exceptional athletic talent, service hours, religion, and in some cases, although it's much more narrowly defined now, demographic factors.
I've seen this thing where a lot of platforms make it seem like, as you said, that there's thousands of scholarships out there that are just waiting to be applied for and earned. From your experience, what's really happening with many of those sites?
Okay, so while I can't speak to all of them, it is
Yeah.
pretty clear that most of them or many of them exist to get personal information. And let's face it, in this day and age, data is an extremely valuable commodity. In the worst case scenarios, people are paying money for Excel spreadsheets and strategies and secret sauce to getting money for college.
Uh-huh.
Interestingly, last year, no, actually, it was the year before last, a family kept asking me over and over again about a specific scholarship program. I decided, so that I could address their questions more specifically, to sign up for their free live webinar. So I signed up for the webinar. I'm in my office, just like I'm sitting right now. I'm waiting. I'm in, the host lets me in. They're welcoming people. Hello, Sandy from San Francisco, Nancy from New Jersey. Oh, we have record people signed up. Great questions pouring in. I can't wait to answer them. Slideshow starts, going through the slideshow, answering questions, saying, oh, great question, great question, Sarah. And at some point, the speaker said something that made me realize there was no way it could be live. It was related to the weather. And at that moment, I was like, but you know what?
Huh.
Being the non-cynic that I can be sometimes, I decided to stay the course. I listened to the rest of it, and then I decided afterwards that I would sign up for another live session with a different email address. And lo and behold, it was the same live, actually pre-recorded
No way.
session. So in my
Wow.
mind, the best case scenario is that that started off with a lie. The worst case, that's a scam. So I do think it's very important that people are careful about what they're signing up for and what they're paying for.
I did something similar. I signed up for one of these clearinghouse websites, so a website that lists a bunch of
Mhm.
scholarships. I signed up for it, I'm going to say 7 years ago. And to this day, I still get emails from that.
Yeah, I did the same. I created a new email address, and it's the same. It's getting thousands every year, thousands of emails.
Amazing. So you've outlined some practical steps that people can do.
Sure. So, first and foremost, I recommend students that are really interested in getting merit scholarships. I recommend seeking out colleges that are known to offer
Mm,
generous merit scholarships.
mm-hmm.
Now, I understand that that topic is pretty hotly debated right now, and that's not a conversation for today.
Sure.
But the reality is there are several colleges where you can be very assured if you meet certain academic criteria, you're going to get a scholarship. The trick is the students have to be willing to apply to those colleges. That's
Yep.
important. If you don't apply to those colleges, you're not going to get that merit scholarship.
Good point.
Conversely, applying to colleges that are very clear that they don't offer merit scholarships is not going to get you scholarships. Stanford, for example, literally says on their website, all ALL university scholarship funds are awarded on the basis of financial need as determined by information provided on the CSS profile. So,
Mm-hmm.
in other words, no amount of hope is going to make, determined financial need come into play.
I know you've mentioned about kind of focusing local. Why do local and relationship based scholarships tend to offer better odds?
I think there's a couple of reasons, and I can't like confirm anything I'm saying because
Yeah.
I don't have access to the application data. But, I have a student literally just this week, a senior in a local high school, who's applying for a scholarship that's only offered to seniors at his high school. So his odds of getting it at the very worst are 1 in 457, right? That's assuming everybody applies. So those are pretty good odds, versus the 1 in Lord knows how many thousands if you apply for a national scholarship. I think other great places for students to look for scholarships are some colleges will provide scholarship information in the portals to students once they've been admitted. And those scholarships are only for students that have either been admitted to that college or who already attend. So the pool is much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think it's all about looking for the odds. If you have a local situation where, like a Rotary Club situation where somebody nominates you and you're taking advantage of a relationship, I think that's also a great strategy. But in the absence of things like that, you're literally competing against thousands, maybe tens of thousands of applicants. And I think it's just really wise to just know what you're dealing with.
I think that's such good advice. So, so once a student decides, all right, I'm going to go for it, it's worth my time to try to get scholarships. What are your best practical tips for staying kind of organized and approaching the parts of doing scholarship applications, essays and recommendations and deadlines? How should they go about that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, personally, I'm a spreadsheet kind of gal. I really like a spreadsheet to help me keep track of projects have multiple moving parts, like college applications or graduate school
Yep.
applications or scholarship applications. So I would create either an Excel or Google Sheet spreadsheet and make some nice columns. One of them should include the name of the scholarship and maybe the URL to the website.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next column should include the deadline. The next column should include any essay questions. The next column, I always recommend having an essay theme column because that way students can get a nice visual of opportunities to reuse essays. And I think that that can be really good in a
Brilliant.
very time-consuming process like that.
Yeah.
I would also suggest having a column that has recommendations, specifications, and I always think that when you're doing a large project like that, building in something that can help you feel good about your progress is a good idea. So I would add an extra column with 3 drop downs, one saying not started, in progress, and completed. And the more of those completed can help you feel good about your progress and keep you going. The other reason I say use a spreadsheet and not a table is that you can easily sort it by date once you have it up there.
Really great advice. All of the information you've shared. If families want to continue this conversation or access your resources, where can they find you, Kathy?
Great question, Chris. And I do offer a lot of free resources
Yes,
on
you
my
do.
website,
Yes.
yeah, which is fineeducationalsolutions.com. And if they want to email me, Kathy with a K at fineeducationalsolutions.com.
That's great. Yeah, you have some incredible resources there, and you're really
Thank you.
good to both the people who are trying to find out information, like families, as well as to the profession. So thanks for your great contributions. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Bell College Consulting. Visit bellcollegeconsulting.com to learn more.
That was amazing. So many great tips and advice from Kathy. One thing that came up is the distinction between scholarships that can really sort of change the game and those that are more icing on the cake funds. Merit aid is given directly by the colleges. It's almost always the biggest prize. The way you typically get merit aid is you just apply for admission to college. They'll offer it to you with admission if they want to entice you to attend by discounting their price. Then comes icing on the cake money, and while typically not the same large amount that merit aid can provide, these can certainly add up. To get them, whether they're additional college-based scholarships or private scholarships, you usually need to apply for each one directly. Now, before we wrap up for the night, it's time for a rundown of the key tips from today's episode. I call it Top Tips.
Top tips. Top tips. Kind of a summary, but we call it top tips. Top tips.
Top tips regarding scholarships. Number 5, a scholarship is simply money given to a student which they don't have to pay back. Number 4, a qualified scholarship involves meeting eligibility-based criteria. This could involve attributes or circumstances like academic achievement or athletic skill or service hours or religion or in some cases demographic factors. Number 3, some colleges are generous with need-based aid and not with merit aid. Number 2, seek out scholarships with a smaller applicant pool, so better odds. Local scholarships work in this case, or admitted students to a college, or relationship-based or nomination-based scholarships. And the number 1 tip regarding scholarships is the best way to get merit scholarships is to apply to colleges that are generous with merit scholarships. Thank you to Dr. Kathy Fine for that excellent conversation. And remember, college is awesome.